Great day, you wonderful audience of Gathering of the Griots. What's up? It's Asada here with you on a Tuesday morning, ready to rock and roll to get this thing going, the Gathering of the Griots way. Yes, indeed, we have a wonderful, wonderful show today with a poet, and you know it, Stephen Lyons. He'll be coming to the table. But first, let's pay homage to the female solution, which is why we're here, big time. So, don't you go nowhere. Let's do our intro and know what we know because I'm going to show what I show. Peace.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the female solution.
There you have it. The female solution is a bunch of sisters every day of the week getting into issues with our community, and I handle the Black literary scene. Let's get it, because I'm the founder of the Soulful Chicago Book Fair. So, speaking of which, one of the things we do on Tuesdays is we celebrate the books that are going to be at the August 9th event. Let's look at them. Title Tuesday. Yes, it is Title Tuesday. I'm going to move this little logo first so we can not have it blocked. And first and foremost, children's book. Hashtag Title Tuesday. Happy, happy day. The Town of 123. That's right, by D.A. Fowler. Then we have, Memoirs of a Slave. Happy hashtag Title Tuesday. That is also by D.A. Fowler. Next, The Other Side. That is by LaPonda Mason. Happy hashtag Title Tuesday. Then we got Snow Awakens, a different kind of fairy tale, also by LaPonda Mason. Happy hashtag Title Tuesday, my darling. Then we got, One Foot In. Happy hashtag Title Tuesday. This story, I got to have them on the show because the author is Michael Broadway, but he passed away. And so now we got a sister keeping his book alive big time. So we love that. You'll learn more about her in a future show. But happy hashtag Title Tuesday to Michael. And then we got It All Starts in the Mind. Healthy Inspirational Living. That is by Veronica Coney. So thank you, beautiful authors. You guys, literally, August 9th is going to be the bomb. Diggity doo-dah. We have already over 100 titles that are going to be sold. And today, you're going to meet an author who is going to be there. So without further ado, let me bring on Brother Stephen Lyons. How are you, brother?
I could not be any better. Well, I probably could be, but I'm happy to
You
be
good
as
to
good
go?
as I am.
I
Yes, yes.
love it. I love it. Welcome to the show. We're happy to have you here. And, we love poets. Poets take creativity and make it make sense for people. Like they make general things make sense in a very, like I said, aesthetic way. And we're going to hear some of your poetry today, but let's just get into some of the background because the title and the energy of the book is a thing. I love, love, love that. Let me show it. From My Father to My Son, the rebirth of a Black warrior. Talk about this concept. What are we dealing with here?
Well, some may be surprised to learn that I am not a father to a biological or adoptive son. My wife and I do not have any children. It's just the two of us, so to speak, and we are having a wonderful, beautiful life together. But what happened was I started having so much pain over the loss of many Black young men. It really hit home with when Trayvon was killed, and I realized that if we had had a son, he might have been around that age, and that pain prompted me to write a piece. And over the years, I started writing more and more as my way of processing uh, not just my own pain, but connecting with the pain of others. And then also wanting people to who may have been on the periphery or may not have even acknowledged what was going on, an opportunity for them to step inside and see some of what we, as in those of us with a little more melanin than others, what we are confronting. So all what this all ended up being was a collection of 40 pieces that are lessons that I would pass on to my son if I had a son. And these lessons are not simply things that I learned from my father. I was blessed to grow up with a father in the home, but not so much from him, but from my heavenly Father. That's why there's a capital H. So there are spiritual lessons that I've learned that I want to pass on.
Y'all hear that? Adding the spiritual father in there, the heavenly father. Now, I do want to, and I think when I learned that you're not even a father in terms of a biological father, that's huge. Because anytime we talk about family, anything in our community, first thing they want to say is, do you have children? It's like, what? That doesn't make you, and it gives you some experience in the area, but you can have a perspective about what you're experiencing yourself and what you're witnessing yourself. And so you talked about, and we have great images of your fathers. I want to hear, and I'm sure it impacted you in some way as a Black man. So I want to talk about that a little bit because um this is big. This your dad. So let's look at that and talk a little bit about when you talk about these images. You got
Sure.
the first picture. Who is that? And talk about those images we're looking at.
Absolutely. The first image is Harold Lyons. That was my father's father. And I know he was in World War One, so I think that's him in his uniform. So that gives you the date. And then in the center is my father and me. I was probably, I don't know, 3 years old or so. And that's him in one of our tickle sessions. When he got home from work, that was what he put on, a t-shirt and that cardigan sweater, and looks like I'm getting ready for bed. I don't really remember that red robe, but anyway. And then
Don't
the
tell me
last,
this is like Mr. Rogers now coming in, talking about he's gonna put on the cardigan sweater.
I didn't even connect that, but he did. He came home and he just totally transformed from workday professional to dad, and he did the best he could with what he had been given from his father. So
Okay,
yeah.
well, let's take a look at them again and talk a little bit about why. Because in the hat is your dad, correct?
Yes, that's his army picture. He fought in Korea. And I didn't really learn much about his experience in the army or fighting. I did know that he grew up one of five siblings in a tiny town outside of Lansing, Michigan. And my understanding is that they were the only Black family in this small town. So they had to navigate that during the Depression days. But that played a factor in not only his outlook on life and his interactions with people, but then also mine, because I remember him saying that it wasn't until he joined the army that he really had relationships with people of color because of the environment he had grown up in. So I actually went ahead, and one of the most personal pieces in the book is sort of about him. It's called Postcards from Bob. So at the appropriate time, I'm happy to share that with our viewers and listeners.
This is the appropriate time.
All right, all right.
This is your show. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, I want to include a little note. This also was birthed out of my experience with an August Wilson play called Jitney. There's a character in that play called Dub, who was a Korean War veteran. And not to introduce too much, but I was looking for monologues at a time in my life where I was auditioning, and I found this monologue that Dub had in the play Jitney by August Wilson, and he talks about his experience as a Korean War veteran. So I contrasted that with an imagining of my dad's experience. So this is called Postcards from Bob. My dad's name was Bob, Robert. What was it like in Korea? Did you stack the bodies 6 high like Dub did? Or were you next to 6 corpses rotting until the skirmish silenced and the ammunition cooled? Dub was from Pittsburgh. Maybe your companies kept company. I mean, did they keep all you colored men together? Or did you stand out like on your high school basketball team and not for your jump shot? Maybe that's why you tickled me as soon as you got home from work, so you could hear a laughter you missed until the barracks, or to return to the laughter you'd heard before, but not since. Too many questions? Well, I never received a postcard. Maybe you never sent one. Too painful to write what you saw? Or you didn't want me to grow up and cower any more than I did at the thought of your prowess in battle? What did you do to earn those service medals I saw pictured? Did they make you proud or conflicted? Is that why you wanted me to be on the honor roll at school and learn how to do my own laundry at home? How many times did you wash your uniform? How many times did you fill your canteen? Who was there to greet you when you stepped off the plane back home? Sadly, not your departed mom, one of your brothers, or your dad, who had worn a uniform some 3 decades before? You left me no shoebox with all the treasures, the artifacts of what the angels saw. Tell the nameless one to write me, the one who protected you so you could tickle me more and more.
Wow. Love your
Thank
style
you.
of writing. Thank you so much. I
Oh,
love a
thank
poet.
you.
I love a poet who doesn't sound like everybody. Gotta appreciate that. My gosh. Thank you.
Well,
Yes, and I love the
thank
story. You
you.
you you write like a playwright to me. Like I started to see potential performance with that piece.
It's interesting you mention that because I'm I'm working on a novel, and the more I get into it, the more I'm thinking maybe this should be a play.
I'm telling
Oh,
you.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I can hear it. It sounds like more than just like we're not just sitting there rhyming and listening to the same intonation. We're actually experiencing and envisioning what you're saying, especially about, you didn't leave me a treasure box. You didn't leave me, And so what kind of experience, because you got military men in the lineage, right? Um, how did that impact you growing up? The fact that your dad was a military man and then his dad was a military man, did that create any kind of messages or lessons specifically that came out of that experience?
Thank you for that. Actually, what it created was a gap
Mm.
because my dad didn't talk about it. It left me wondering. He didn't talk about his pain, and part of this was generationally, I'm sure. Part of it was probably just the way he grew up, the environment he grew up in, and so I was left with wondering what was war really like for him? What did he wrestle with? What were his interactions like with his fellow soldiers? What did he encounter? I was told that he, experienced some combat. So what was that like? That was not passed on to me. So I was left with a gap wondering. And interestingly, one of my favorite genres of film happens to be war movies.
Gotcha.
That wasn't a conscious choice. I just realized over the years that if you ask me to list some of my favorite movies, wow, a lot of these have to do with war.
Interesting. Now, did you have a relationship with your granddad, which is on the right side of this?
I I did up until I was 2 years old, so I
I
have
see.
no memory. I have no memory of it at all. I have a vague memory of my dad telling me that his dad had passed away.
Okay.
And in my memory, which you know how memories can be not always accurate, but in my memory, my dad was struggling to share with me that his dad had died,
I
and
see.
there was a sadness in him. That was one of my first encounters of him expressing emotion,
I
was
see.
telling me that.
Okay. I would, when you look at military men get this sort of reputation of being hard and callous and, oh God, Army brat, we were everywhere and all of these things that aren't necessarily harmonious. But your dad was putting on a cardigan tickling you. Like what, and I guess that's why I'm wondering, like he didn't share that military-ness with you guys, but it seems like he allowed himself to really show himself. Like he may not have just divulged everything to you, but there's a personality that it seems that was more important, and that of behaving like a father. What kind of father was he to you?
So when I think about that aspect of him being a father, I think about him just seeking freedom
Mm,
within the four walls of his home. I'm an only child, so it was my mom, him, and me, and we were a unit. And I always sensed that when he got home, that was a safe place where he could let his guard down and just be. And one of the one of the sad aspects of growing up with him is that he wasn't at home as much as he probably wanted to be. As he started out in education, he was a PE teacher at a high school, and then he went on to coach a debate team, and then he worked his way up the ranks, so to speak, into the state board of education, into an administrative role. And that took him out of town a lot. He was often in Springfield and other cities in the state. And as a young kid, I missed his presence a lot. I didn't really understand what he was doing. I knew it was important to him, but I didn't really understand it. I missed him. There were little things that I missed, like learning how to be a good ball player.
okay.
Um, um, in fact, I don't know how many black men can confess this, but not being able to ball is on my list of, I never learned that with him. I never learned that from him. So there were things like that as I think about it, just there were gaps
I
in
see.
my development. And one of the reasons that the book took shape is because I wondered, would if I had a son, would he identify those same gaps? Would
Interesting.
he, not know me? Would I be absent? So I wanted to capture things on a deeper level that I would have shared with him so that he would know that whatever he's experiencing, whatever he's going through, uh, I'm I'm there for him. I'm not distant, whether physically or emotionally or mentally or in any way.
Got you. Now, very profound what you're saying. I think it's because you've taken the responsibility of a father, period, by even creating this book and saying what you want to say. Is there a particular poem that really reflects the title "From My Father to My Son," the message that you want to convey to a young man?
Well, there is, but I'm going. It's actually the introduction,
Okay.
but I'm I'm not going to. I'll give a little taste of it, but I'm not going to read the whole thing because I don't want to give that all away.
Okay. Gotcha.
Also, also, one thing I like about poetry is that the reader can the reader can hear the words in their own voice. The reader can pause when they want to, can like go back over a word if they want to. The reader can stop and let something sink in. Uh, Sometimes there have been times I haven't even made it through a whole poem. I've only read a stanza and I had to just stop and let that process. But I'll give you I'll give everyone a taste of the intro that kind of sets the stage for everything. And the intro is entitled Elegy Exhaled. Today I bury my son. I watched, heard, and felt him die. When the person who shot a bullet into Trayvon Martin's chest was portrayed as merely law abiding, I no longer wanted a son. Join me at the repast, glimpse into my grief, share a recipe and a remembrance, while the music plays my soul bare. Listen as melancholia and memories alternate, coincide, color each other. Endure as I exhale the relief of having no son to fight for.
Mm,
And then at the end, I come full circle and realize actually what you've been sharing, that there are sons for me to fight for, and
yeah.
that I am a father, and that is that is a role that I no longer can evade.
Overstand. And I'm glad you took the responsibility of that. You have a subtitle to that book that I think is important. And it, because it's a certain mindset, right? The rebirth of a Black warrior. Where does that come from? What is that? What do you mean by that?
Well, that partly comes from the journey of me going from not wanting a son, relinquishing that, to coming to a point of accepting that I am a father and that there are people that that I can not necessarily fill that role in their lives, but that it's it's selfish of me to withhold uh, the lessons that I've learned and not pass them on just in my everyday life. And the reason I chose the word warrior is because for me, and I I don't think I'm alone. I think for a lot of men, the battle is not so much the external. It's not so much dodging bullets or things like that, but the battle is on the inside to be able to be our authentic selves. And that was what, even in the process of writing the book, that's what I came to accept, that if I'm going to be authentic, I need to pass on the lessons that I've learned,
Mm.
especially the spiritual lessons on uh, just how to navigate being a real person in this day, in this time, one day at a time.
Right, one day at a time. And being a Black father is such a void in the community that everybody needs to, it's like all hands on deck. Like we need to play the role and just use common sense to say what we have to say to make the impact we need to make, right? And I think that's important. I love that you use the inspiration of the young brothers that we've lost to say some things to them. Now, do you feel like if there's any work of yours that speaks in a preventative way to young people, to say something that might make them think before they act? Or from what perspective, let me ask this question, from what perspective do you feel like your work comes? Me speaking to young son to stop, or me speaking to other fathers to give advice? Like where's your perspective coming from?
I think it's both.
Mm,
It's me speaking to to sons, but it's also giving other fathers permission to
mm,
speak to their sons.
mm,
I think one thing, as you started out with about poetry, is that it gives us permission to feel things, to be curious about things, to inquire, to explore
mm.
things that we otherwise might not even be aware of.
I see.
And I want sons to not have to wait until they're my age 63 to start becoming aware of what's really going on inside them and why they think the way they do, why they feel the things they feel, why they respond. What are the triggers that are bringing out the response that they have just to everyday things they encounter? What are the things that are keeping them from stepping into spaces where they may feel like they're not welcome? Why I think fear is that's part of the warrior aspect. I think that's something that we need to fight, is the fear of both stepping out and failing, but also the fear of stepping out and succeeding, and then having a platform. And what do you do when you have a platform? Remaining authentic and remaining real, remaining true, and not trying to be everything for everybody, but just
Mm,
to be who you are, and trust that that's enough.
got you. We
I
have
don't
some.
think I really answered your question
No, you're
though.
fine. You're definitely fine. I mean, because people are extracting parts of what you're saying into other ideas. We got some comments. Zelda, hey Zelda, says, Grand Rising Poet Warrior. Thanks for sharing authentic journey, which is always a challenge, right? And then she also says here, your vulnerability will heal others heal and do more inner work where real healing can begin. So
Thank you so much, Zelda.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
It's that inner work is yes. And sometimes the inner work is not always visible right away. You know,
Mhm.
like you started out saying, we ask, we want to ask, so how many kids do you have? We always ask about the externals, about people. What's your job? What do you do?
What do you do?
What's
I never
yeah,
ask questions. People
right,
always ask me about other people in that way, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't. Those are just not questions I ask
right.
because they
That's
don't.
good.
They're just so surface. Like, what are you talking about?
Right. So it's the inner stuff. I feel like sometimes, well, I've been guilty of this. Try to rush the process and
Mhm.
appear to be more healed than I really am,
Mm,
because it's taking time. And I feel like people want you to be fixed. People don't want to deal with other people's stuff. They want everybody
that's
to be
true.
fixed.
That's
But that's
true.
not reality. So
Wow, that's a great point. I feel like that in my life right now. Like the fixed Asada, everybody's cool with her. But when I recently got broken physically, yo, crickets. because I just don't think that people know how to deal with. How do you? I'm the person that's usually dealing with other people's stuff, but for people to deal with my stuff, uncomfortable for them, and I don't think they really knew what to say or do or whatever, which is fine. But it's just an observation of me in the healing process. So we are going to take a quick break, but you guys don't go anywhere. And when I come back, I'm going to put how you contact Stephen down there so that you can know how to communicate with him, but also buy that book. He will be at the book fair, but let's just take a quick break and we'll talk about it all when we come back. Stand by.
The Soulful Chicago Book Fair, Woodlawn's premier summer event, returns to 61st Street between Cottage Grove and King Drive, Saturday, August 9th, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Join us for another celebration of literary works by and about the Black experience, featuring children's books, fiction books, and non-fiction works by local and international authors. The main stage will host an entertainment lineup second to none, with Pari Lemuel, Aniba and the Soul Stars, and the mesmerizing Moo Moo Fresh. Special guest, DJ Celeste. The community stage features a variety of family-friendly performances, such as DJ sets produced by IC Music, an organization that trains and promotes blind audio engineers. All this and more, Saturday, August 9th, free and open to all. Be there. Visit soulfulchicagobookfair.com for more information.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. August 9th, that's our big event. You will meet Stephen Lyons in person at that event. Rocking and rolling, ready to get those books out. I'm going to put your contact down here as well. If you guys look at the email at the bottom, it's sclyons@icloud.com. If you want to reach out to him and find out more about the book, you can also go to Amazon and look up his book. I'm going to put the image of that book up, and it is called From My Father to My Son. And so we're going to get a little bit more into your dad and some of the images that I have of him, but talk about this concept. You said from my father to my son, and one would think off the cuff, oh, dad, but you said I capitalized that F because I'm talking about the Heavenly Father. So go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Yes, thank you. So, and I acknowledge that everyone has the freedom to find their faith expression, and I also acknowledge that I think that's a gift of a merciful Heavenly Father to allow us that. And at the same time, my faith experience is rooted in being a child of the creator of the universe through my faith in Jesus Christ as the one who made that possible. So that's really the foundation of my whole existence since realizing what my father did for me in sacrificing his son so that he could have a relationship with me, that he loved me that much. And so what really hit home for me was that my heavenly father was willing to sacrifice his son, and yet I wasn't even willing to have a son because I didn't want to deal with the possibility that he might be killed.
Wow.
And that still, I think for the rest of my life, that's something that will be a constant reminder to me of just how deeply my heavenly father loves me. And not just me, but that love is available to everyone.
That's powerful. That is extremely powerful. And you make it so simple. Like just look at the correlation and live by it, and create a life that exemplifies the messages that you want to get out. Now, your actual dad, I want to go to some of those experiences because I was shocked. Now, I'm going to deal with this one first, then I'm going to go to the shocking one next.
Okay.
But you have here your dad, because you mentioned something about his team and something you said earlier. What is this image about? And your dad looks
Yes.
like he's happy to me.
This he looks like he's having a great time. In fact, I know the person on his left in the picture that his arm is around. I think his name is Dan. He was the best man at his wedding. I
Oh,
do
I
know
love that.
So this is the high school that my dad went to. As I mentioned, he was the family was, to my knowledge, the only black family in the town. So
Okay.
he's the only black kid on the team. I don't even know.
This is circa what? What's the date on this a lot
This
around?
would have been 49, maybe
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm.
48, 49. I
Okay.
don't know. I know his mother passed away when he was in high school. So I don't know if she was alive at this point or not. Um, I don't even know for sure what sport this is.
Gotcha.
I
Right.
just in my poem, I just say that it's basketball, and but there he is standing out, but also in some ways fitting in. But I really don't know. I look at this often, and I think about each of the people in that photograph as a life, and how did they may have been fathers. What did they teach their children about? Did they say, yeah, there was a black guy on our team, and use that as a way of teaching a lesson
Mm.
uh, that to their children, that yeah, blacks black, there's no difference. Don't to put to stamp out some of the racist attitudes that are
Sure.
passed on generationally. That's what I'm
Sure.
trying to say.
I always think it's interesting when you look at pictures from this era, because I have some of my grandfather, and he don't look like he in despair. He does not look unhappy. He don't look like he downtrodden. He got on his uniform. He was in a service. He's in the Swiss Alps. He's on top of a horse. Like, it's just these things that you don't get those stories. You don't get this story. These people do not look like, and we're not limiting or negating that there was racism and
Right.
happened, but there's some stories that's not being told, because this brother right here looking like he part of the team, and he's not like way in the back where you can't find him. Like, he's just in
Right.
the mix, and the family was in a community that was primarily white, and things happen. And so when you look at the character of the man that came home and put on t-shirts and cardigan sweaters, this is part of the emotion that was developed in the person. Now I want to show another image that I think is interesting. Let me see if this is, yep, this is the image. Talk about this image and what we're looking at right now.
Okay, here we go. And I have a little piece to go along with this, but so my dad is the one holding the dog,
Okay.
and on one side of him are his two brothers, Norman and Chuck, and on the other side of him is his sister Marie.
Okay.
And then behind him is his older brother. We called him Bud. His name was Harold Jr. and Harold Sr. next to him. And then the person in the back, sort of in the center, is Malcolm Little, who later became Malcolm X. And then there's a gentleman on the far end kneeling. His last name is McGuire, and I'm embarrassed if any of my cousins see this, that I don't remember if his name is Sam or Cyril, but his name is McGuire. But
Okay.
Malcolm did live with my family very briefly when he was a teenager, before he went off to Boston to be with his sister. If you read Alex Haley's autobiography of Malcolm X, you'll see the name Lyons mentioned. Uh, he did spend time when his mother was institutionalized after his father had been killed. Malcolm and all his siblings were in different foster families. And this is one, the Lyons family was one of the foster families that he stayed with.
Malcolm X. Stop playing. Malcolm X growing up with my Lyons family. That
You
is so,
never know.
that's just so huge. Now, what's the poem you have for that image?
So the poem mentions my dad and his five siblings, and this poem goes along the lines of history lessons to pass on to my son. It's
Okay.
called Fives, Family Trees, and Fungi.
Go ahead with it.
Antron, Kevin, Corey, Raymond, Yusuf, advertised as Central Park criminals, part of their sentence, tragedy minus triumph, even in their release. Joe, Martin, Morris, Cyril, Percy, 5 of the 50 who mutinied, birthed to the Port Chicago Cemetery, uniformed for bravery, condemned for its display. Rahab, Ruth, Obed, Jesse, David, lineage toward salvation, promises fulfilled unexpectedly, decisions selfish and selfless, merged on a merciful path. Harold, Robert, Charles, Norman, Marie, siblings of emergency rooms by virtue of their colorblind hearts, triaged with ignorance, a pattern of suture, relapse, repeat. Carter, Ernest, Freddie Lee, George, Sam, penicillin withheld for science sake, Tuskegee-style extermination. Vaccine labels now apologize with print too small to read. Photo album pages catalog the commonalities: white snow, white lab coats, white sheets, white soap suds, reminders. The black ain't what's supposed to wash off.
Man, powerful. You're such a great writer. We love a great writer. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and now when you write these poems, did these, I know that some of the images coincide with the poems. Did the pictures, you look at the picture and say, let me write something, or you just after the fact said this kind of connects to these images?
It was more after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about images
Mm-hmm.
that connected. I I have to say, if there are any budding writers or poets out there, that I was not. I started writing poetry in seventh grade as a project that was assigned to us to put together a little booklet. And since then, I've continued writing more, more prolifically in different seasons of life. But when I started to take poetry classes and writing classes in undergrad and then afterward, I did not receive affirmation to continue. I'll just
Okay.
leave it at that.
Okay.
And if I had let that dissuade me, I wouldn't be here today. So I just wanted to mention that as an encouragement to those who are trying to find their voice and who are looking for validation outside themselves. There may be just one person that connects with something that you write, and as we've seen, one person can have an impact for generations. So just keep writing. I even I've been sending out books, like promotional copies of the book, to different people,
Mhm.
and one person actually took the time to write back and share, like in detail, specific stanzas of specific
Mm,
poems that really impacted him.
gotcha.
I'm still in shock. I mean, that I'm like, I'm done. If
Gotcha.
if I was able to connect with one person on that level, that will have a ripple effect that
Mm,
I can't even determine.
gotcha.
So just an encouragement.
Yeah. You know, I love, I look at your images on social media and you seem like such a balanced man. You don't, some dudes try to take
That's
pictures. They
kind
don't,
of
yeah, no doubt. Balanced. You see, I always laud a brother that smiles, period. I think smiling is just so simple to do, but you got a lot of brothers who like to scowl and look serious when they're taking their pictures, like that's something to uphold or something. But there's a making of that person, there's a making of that brother, right? And so we've dealt with the character of your dad, we've seen images of you and your dad, and for those who are just tuning in, I'll show a few, just a couple of them, so you see, um you see engagement, right? I know you said that there were gaps in the bringing up because your dad was here with working and what have you, but still there was some engaging, and a lot of Black men don't really get that. But one of the things that comes across when I go to your social media is somebody. Oh,
yes,
Lord, wait a minute. I said, she got to have a role in this because look at the happiness. Oh, it's just always the happiness. Now, talk about this. Your
yes.
you didn't talk a lot about your dad and mom's marriage or anything like that, but what made you know that one, well, where'd you meet her? And then her name, and then what made you know that this is where you needed to be? This is the person that needed to be in your life.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for acknowledging this. Yes, that's my Janet, and I'm hers, and we have
Mhm.
belonged to each other. We just celebrated 38 years of uh,
Nice.
happy marriage, happy, wonderful, beautiful marriage.
Mhm.
And we met through, they're just connections happening all over the place.
Mhm.
So there was uh, a, a brother at IIT on that campus who reached out. It was part of a campus outreach program that reached out to Janet. And then his brother was at Circle UIC campus and reached out to me. And over the course of a few years, uh, that brother just spoke well of us to each other, to the point where we caught each other's attention. And I started noticing her, not only for her external beauty, but for her mind, for the questions that she would ask. We used to take a Bible class together, and she would always ask very insightful questions, and they were often questions that I had that I either didn't ask, or sometimes they were questions that I had just got the answer to. And I'm like, I want to get with, I want to connect with this person. So I did it the old school route. I spoke to our pastor and said, hey, I've got my eye on this person. And he said, why don't you take 6 months and pray about it? Now, that 6 months, on the one hand, it was an eternity. On the other hand, it flew by.
Okay.
But Janet will tell you, if I had approached her before that 6 month period was over, she would not have had any interest in me.
Interesting. Wow. Why?
So she just wasn't, I just did not really catch her eye. She just did not see herself going wherever I was going.
Interesting.
But then, lo and behold, we started courting. Yes, I used the old school word courting. And then we got engaged, and she has, she has just been the kind of support that I can't even put into words. And just understanding me when I don't make sense. Like you mentioned, just having someone who I don't need to be fixed for. And we don't have to fix each other either. Honestly, we rely on our Heavenly Father to do the fixing, and we do that together. We come together to do that. But even some of my poems, when I present them to her, she'll look at me and say, that's nice, but I don't really get it.
Interesting.
And that's fine. I appreciate that.
Right.
In some cases, it helps me refine the piece. In other cases, that's fine. I don't get everything that I read. I mean, and it could be an award-winning poet. That doesn't mean it's going to connect with me. So
Right.
yes, that's my Janet. I could go on and on, but
I love it. Is there a poem that she connects to for a particular reason in your work?
she actually said that she likes. So I included a short story in my book. It's a collection of 40 poems, and I structured it as a song. So there are 7 poems comprise verse 1, 7 poems comprise verse 2. There's a pre-chorus, and then there's a chorus.
I love it.
And each time you come to the chorus, you come to a section of a short story.
Okay.
And the short story is 3 letters that people wrote to each other during the Civil War. The first letter is by a runaway slave who has found a safe haven with a Union company. And he's writing a letter to his mother.
Okay.
The second letter is by a Confederate soldier who the runaway slave and this Confederate soldier happened to grow up together on the same plantation, played as kids and all that jazz until they came of age, and one is the master, the other is the slave. But that's the Confederate soldier writing a letter to his mother. And the last letter is that Confederate soldier's sister writing a letter to her brother. And through these letters, it weaves together their regrets, their acknowledgement of how they feel about this war and how it has put them against each other. I throw in some historical facts about an abolitionist and things like that. So she said that that's what she really appreciated the most in the whole book. And I'm glad that connected, because I'm a letter writer myself, and I'm trying to keep that art alive. And I think so much of history is passed down through letters.
Yeah.
And so. there you have it.
Interestingly enough, and that's why I put up that image, while you may not have known the individual stories of your father and grandfather in the service, you sure did create something that was about war veterans. And you put that in there, and talked about their feelings and talked about their experiences. So when you talk about how did that, I asked a little earlier, how did that military background impact you? Thinking kind of the general things like, oh, we were Army brats and he was strict, or no, but in a different way, you now have created characters that have some of the maybe data that didn't get passed on to you, that they didn't share, didn't divulge, but you found a way to weave in those characters in your work. And I think that is really strong. And I'm glad is that the short story part that she liked, or is that a poem?
It's the short story. Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
3 letters comprise the short story. Yes.
Got you. Okay. We literally have like a few minutes left.
Wow.
I mean, it went by ridiculously fast. What poem would you share with us as we close to sort of set the tone for the message you want to leave?
Okay. This one, it has a connection to Freedom Summer. If anyone is familiar with what that was in 1964, I won't give a history lesson now, because you can just look up Freedom Summer 1964 and you can read all about it.
Okay.
But this is my freedom of summer.
Gotcha.
It's the humidity that's so oppressive, each droplet holding a day's worth of misgivings, non-discriminating, non-incriminating dew, settling on black and white brows the same, as they work together to look past and inside of each other. And this ain't even Mississippi, where shirts were drenched by more than armpits. Sinus headaches make their mark in the Midwest, an invention of collective failures, collective longings and unbelongings, all traced to fear of each other. Little black boy in the summer of being 2, the year of the 3 murders. His backyard pool was already desegregated. His parents made sure to march in the North by educating the ouches out of each other. And he grew up noticing neither humidity nor central air, and he played with his white friends until accusations replaced innocence. Fingers, when pointed, still throw, but can't catch until they're extended enough to start praying. Am I the each or the other?
We love your work. It is great. Thank you so much for being with us today, Stephen.
I have to thank you. I have to interrupt and thank you for your support of authors. It is monumental, and it is having a tremendous impact. And please don't listen to anything that tells you otherwise.
I feel you. Thank you, brother. It's the life's work. I listen to the creator, like you said, and I get it done. And you just wake up in the morning with what you're supposed to do and what the calling calls you for, basically. Thank you guys for tuning in. And please watch this over and over again right on Stephen Lyons' Facebook page, on my Facebook page, or the Soulful Chicago Book Fair YouTube page. We love you. See you next Tuesday. And come on out August 9th. Get ready. Put it on your calendar, because that's where you'll experience us live. Take peace and enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran.
Ghana, Madasi. Nigeria, Eshe. South Africa, Ngiabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.